Hey, Ben, the
Yes, ma'am.
recording's in progress.
Thank you. And thank you, Zoom lady, for announcing it.
Hello and welcome, fellow osmologist, to Osmology. I'm Sue.
And I'm Ben, and in this episode, we're ready to scratch the surface of consumer behavior and how it can influence your marketing.
Now, this is a huge topic. Huge, huge.
Huge.
Yes. And I was incredibly happy to take your 4 first idea bullet points and make them what we did. But it's definitely all worth considering, and there's a lot more to consider than what we'll talk about today. As much as we like to think that we hold a secret to quote unquote perfect marketing strategies, humans are very complex creatures. So we're going to run down a list of some things that can help drive or predict consumer behavior, maybe things that can negatively affect consumer behavior, and talk about how they affect what we do and how we can work with them within the confines
Yeah.
of how they exist in the world.
Yeah. So before we dive in, the ideas that I threw at Sue that she so neatly wrapped into this episode, admittedly, when I sent them, I was like, "Ooh, there's a lot. This is big. This is kind of overwhelming for me to even think about because there's, the more of this kind of stuff that you're aware of and interacting with and doing and learning from, it all just takes more time,
Mhm.
and as marketers, especially credit union marketers, we know that resources are already tapped. So, there's only so much time for this stuff, but, trust in partnerships or even picking one of these things and, using some aspect of it or,
Mhm.
learning something from it likely will help you out, even if it's just a small portion of everything that we're going to be talking about today. So disclaimer, don't feel like you need to do all this stuff. There's people to help, and even doing a little bit of it will be helpful. So
Yes. Yeah. And if the minimum that you take out of today is to be aware that uh, these things exist, consumers will act how they will act, and there are things that predispose them to act and think and buy and respond in certain ways. And it still comes back to that tried and true sort of advice we always give, which is try a thing, see if it works, and
or something.
keep trying. Do something.
Right. Yeah. Cool. So first one, cognitive bias. So cognitive biases.
Both.
Like,
I think
yeah,
it's
right.
both.
Sounds good to me. Yeah. These are unconscious errors in thinking that arise from problems related to memory, attention, and other mental mistakes. So these things result from our brain's efforts to simplify the incredibly complex world in which we live, right? So let's talk a little bit about how cognitive bias help or hurt marketing. You got a jumping off points too?
I do. Yeah. So the thing about cognitive bias is it's at its maybe the simplest way to explain it is that it's a shortcut.
Hmm.
So we take in all of the stimulus around us all of the time. And what cognitive bias does is it makes it easier to process things by not making us go through and fully process all of the stimulus that we're getting.
Hmm.
So where this can be really helpful in marketing is that you can, as a marketer, you can become aware of a cognitive bias that will help what you're trying to do. And people's shortcut. And looking at the different topics we have, the next thing we're going to talk about is emotional triggers. And I think these two probably are really closely aligned,
Yeah.
because I think you can have someone have a particular cognitive bias. That cognitive bias says, okay, I'm looking at that picture of a dad with playing baseball with his son,
Hmm.
and immediately, like, what I see is a a male, an older male, younger male. and there is a baseball. So my cognitive bias is that is a dad playing baseball with his son. And that is not necessarily true. Point of fact, they're probably models, but
Right.
maybe not, maybe entirely unrelated. So my cognitive bias is that is what that is. And that's what that picture evokes for me. And then that moves on, that takes you to that emotional trigger of, I loved playing baseball with my dad. So therefore, ergo, I am going to buy your corn dogs or whatever you're selling because my cognitive bias tells me that you're talking about one of my core memories.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a great and really easy to understand example. And, um, you know, you can apply that in things like the example you gave, picture or a video of um, two completely unrelated people painting this picture that they're
Mhm.
related and connecting to some emotion. Um, and you can do this in a whole bunch of different types of medium, right? Like photo, video, even like animation, illustration. Uh, and then there's like drilling down into that and saying the way that you use color and some of those things can
Mhm.
all also just create this deeper connection or make the shortcut even quicker, I guess, if that's what we're referring to the bias as, right?
Right. Right. Yeah,
So
it's sorry, go ahead.
yeah. I was just going to say, so helpful to know how that might connect with consumers or potential consumers, the people you're trying to interact with. Hurtful if we're the ones making some assumptions or using our own life experiences to um,
Mhm.
guess or speculate what people might connect with when in fact our experience might be totally different than the people we're trying to attract. So being aware of our own biases and how that could be a negative is super important too. Sorry to transition there if that was sooner than you were hoping.
That's okay. No, let's move on. Let's talk about emotional triggers because I really honestly don't think we can talk about these two things without each other, right?
Mhm. Right.
So emotional triggers are automatic responses to specific stimuli. Triggers can be people, places, or things. They can be smells. They can be words. They can be colors. Emotional triggers are automatic responses to the way others express emotions like anger or sadness. And again, this is one of those things where, as marketers, we can use those emotional triggers to our benefit. That is why, you maybe see so many ads, ads for mortgages that include happy families or people,
Mhm.
you know, what looks like a happy couple on a couch. Some of those things that is meant to trigger an emotion. It's not. It's it should be deliberate, right?
Right. Yeah.
To do that.
It's funny to
And
think about, and I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
it's okay.
the example you give about the happy people that get their mortgage, and are maybe just moving in and unpacking the boxes and stuff, obviously all really intentional. And if you've ever been through that process, it doesn't look like that. You know what I mean? And like, get a house, they said. It'll be fun, they said, and then you get in there and it's, chaos for a while. But of course,
Right,
the end or the outcome that everybody's shooting for is happiness
right.
and, a home and a space, So maybe we as marketers fast forward a little
Yeah.
bit
Yeah.
or,
All you have to do is get the boxes in the house, guys.
yeah, and
You'll
then
be
everything
so
else is
happy.
magic. Right. Yeah. Yeah, all the toilets work, there's no
Right,
leaks anywhere. Yeah,
right. You can find the colander when all you can find is spaghetti
right.
and you don't have any food. And
Yeah.
yeah, yeah. Definitely that is a fast forward for sure. Um, I think the flip side is when you start to think about what the how those triggers could affect someone negatively, right?
Mhm.
So now this is not to say that we can oh, we can't market, although we'll talk about this, we can't market to the individual level at this point, but you could another way that this could affect negatively as far as an emotional trigger, talk about that happy family and maybe a scene of a family dinner. For some people, family dinners are not happy memories, right?
Yeah, right.
So, I mean, the what will happen, I think, in that case is the simplest thing for the marketers side is someone sees that it creates a negative emotional trigger, which is probably just a blip, right? For that person, but it's coming from somewhere,
Mhm,
and they pass you by. And that's how their emotional trigger is going to affect what your marketing is.
mhm.
It's not it is not the worst possible thing that could happen because a lot of people pass a lot of things by for a lot of reasons.
Right.
But you genuinely may not realize when you're putting something together, and as you said, could be photo, could be video, could be illustration, could be anything really. It can be a little bit unpredictable how the people that you are hoping to target are going to react to something that you're feeling, that your cognitive bias is telling you, oh, I had these great happy memories with my family at my family dinners, and
Right.
someone else, that looks like prison to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
So all that you can do is the best with the information that you have and
right,
create stuff that you think is gonna, you know, speak to the majority of your audience and know that it's not gonna resonate with everyone. This is part of the gig.
right, right.
Yeah.
And focus on the things that uh focus on the idea that marketing is intended to elicit an emotion.
Yeah.
So that is, it's sort of our bread and butter, right?
Mhm.
Is finding those things that will create an emotion in someone, or bring out an emotion in someone,
Yeah.
and let that help move your message along.
Mhm. Yeah. Yeah. Positive or negative, right? I mean,
Hmm.
it's why you see the infomercial actor just stumbling to get that Tupperware out of the cupboard, and that's
Right,
just
and
the
it all
worst thing in life.
falls.
Oh my gosh. But obviously trying to create an emotion there, and
Mhm.
that's a gross exaggeration, I guess. There's everything in between, from the happy dinner table thing to the gross exaggeration on the negative side, all designed with intent and made to bring about an emotion.
Right, right. So you use the example, Ben, of using color, just
Mhm.
color by itself,
Yeah,
as something that does this. So, maybe getting into a little more abstract idea. Can you
sure.
talk a little bit about how you can use color to
Yeah.
elicit emotion?
Yeah, and maybe I can even just wrap it all up into color and design, right? I mean,
Hmm.
you think of, I hate to go to what feels like an obvious example, but think of an Apple ad, I mean, smooth, sharp lines, crisp shapes, and really intentional use of color. The one that comes to mind as I'm thinking right now is the most recent iPhone 14 commercial, or at least the most recent one that I've seen, where they released the new yellow version of it, and it's just super, it's illustrated and big chunky kind of drawings and
Hmm.
high energy and yellow tones, so obviously making a connection to the device they're selling, but also we're transitioning to summertime here in North
Hmm.
America, and so sunny, bright, vibrant, so like if I'm at all on the fence about getting a phone, and if yellow's even anywhere near the top of my favorite color in the palette, and I'm excited for summer. I mean, like there could just be enough of those little like micro moments in that, consumption of that ad to be
Hmm.
like, you're right. I do need a new phone, and I got to get that yellow. So like
Yeah.
that's a very specific example, but um, yeah, I think, using color, shape, basic design principles
Hmm.
to try and elicit an emotion. And again, all on the same scale, right? That's why using that infomercial example again, they don't use the same normal colors as when they're shooting it. They give it this big, heavy gray overtone,
Yeah.
and it's like, the world is the worst when I'm getting my Tupperware, So all small changes that are really
Right.
easy to do in the editing room, but can make a big impact on how people react to it.
Yeah. Let's dwell on that Apple commercial, because I know the one you're talking about. Another thing about that one I think is interesting is, to me, it feels like a tone shift to some degree for Apple,
Mm,
because that really is a pretty funky commercial.
yeah.
And I think that is, what that is telling me is that they are trying to push into an audience with a different mindset, and I think the color speaks to it. I think the way it's illustrated speaks to it, the sort of funkiness of it. And it's a really good example of being able to speak to a different audience, um, using color, using tone, using movement, but still, Apple's brand is clean.
Hmm.
So it's still somehow it is both funky and clean. I can't explain that,
Yeah.
but it still is.
Well, I think that's the strength of Apple's brand, right? Where,
Mhm,
at the end of a video like that, looks nothing like the stuff that you see at their like developers conference or on their website or
mhm,
anything, where it's all super modern and, crisp and clean. All that it takes for them to maintain their brand integrity is at the end of a funky commercial like that, put their logo over a white screen and
mhm.
done, so
Right.
takes a lot of time and brand work to get you to that point. But yeah, and totally agree. I mean, I think they're clearly going after a specific group of people that something like that might resonate with.
Mhm. Yeah. So speaking of people,
Yeah, yeah.
let's talk about buyer personas, Ben.
Nice segue to.
Wow.
So yeah, buyer personas are semi-fictional representations. I don't know why I say semi-fictional, like that's a loose term. They are definitely semi-fictional representations of your ideal customers based on your data and research, and definitely lots of, again, theme of the day, pros and cons, benefits and
Mhm,
pitfalls of using personas. And I think everything we're talking about today is all tied together. As we're developing personas, we're probably using some of our biases to build
mhm,
those people or that person, and thinking about how they might react to something emotionally. Our biases are intertwined into that. But um, the thing that I really like about using personas on any level is there's like an ingrained use of empathy that has to
mhm,
happen. You have to put yourself in the brain or in the shoes of the person that you're building, whether this is something you do often or you go surface level or really deep. You have to consider what they're thinking, seeing, feeling, doing, um, and all of this helps inform what you might do by uh, or what you might do with the information of building this person, right?
right. And as a uh, as a I3 guy from filing,
Hmm.
and having used the filing method, uh, it speaks entirely to that idea of being able to view things through the customer slash member's eyes,
Right.
right?
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, not to put too fine of a point to it, but the power of a consumer persona is really reminding yourself they don't care what you need as a
Yeah.
business.
Or what you want, right?
Yeah, they are not, you're not their priority. So to start to look at things through their eyes and see what their priority really is, and then genuinely connect what is going to be your bread and butter to what they need,
Hmm.
um, is, I think, that just not just powerful from the ability to actually sell, but is a really ethical way to do business, right?
Hmm. Yeah.
Um, because my belief is that if you have to spend some majority of your time convincing people they need the thing you need, right? You have to talk them into it all of the time because it doesn't connect to their needs, their wants, anything like that. some argument could be made
Hmm.
that you're cluttering up the landscape. I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of a nice way to put that, but
Yeah.
you know.
Well, and we live in a cluttered landscape, as marketers, and I think that is partially because there are a lot of people, businesses out there trying to convince people
Mhm.
that you need that thing when really, in some cases, nobody needs that thing, but you can make money selling it, right?
Right.
And in other cases, there's something that's off, either the timing or the audience or the price
Mhm.
or whatever, and like when one aspect of that is off and there's a lot of people playing on the same field, it can feel super crowded, no doubt. And
Right.
that's where it's tough, no matter how much somebody wants or needs your thing and how much is right about your business or the thing that you're selling, like it's tough to stand out because
Mhm.
it's just crowded. It's really crowded.
Right. Right.
This is really like a baseline thing that we're talking, people have heard like building buyer personas or customer segmentation or target audience, whatever, like all of these, I guess, marketing terms that people are using to help try and build their work for the people that are that they're intending their message for. But at the core of all of it, and I don't mean to go all kumbaya, but I think it's really only effective when like empathy is built
Mhm.
into that thing that you're doing. You can't just look at people as audiences without understanding what the audience is hearing, feeling, seeing, doing, and trying to put yourself in their shoes and in their life experience. It There's so much information out there that it's really easy to just grab a pool of people that are within an age range, within an income
Mhm.
range, and we know might be, at a point in their life where they're ready to buy the thing that you're selling. But it goes, empathy can help you go way further beyond that and create
Mhm.
an emotional connection to improve the likelihood that they are going to actually buy the thing that you're selling because they truly do want it or need it based on what's happening in life
Right.
to them as humans, as people.
Yeah. Well, and being being able to sell through empathy because you are genuinely connecting to something that a person needs virtually assures a loyal customer.
Yeah, right.
If you are spending all of your time trying to convince someone they need the thing, um, they may purchase it
Hmm.
because
Yeah.
some people are just that good a salesperson. But as soon as there's a problem, there is a operational error, anything goes wrong, uh, you risk losing them immediately.
Hmm.
Whereas if you can create a loyal customer by connecting with them through empathy, understanding how your product or service genuinely makes their lives better, they will come back.
Right.
And to me, there's really no more powerful way to do business
Mm.
than to create loyalty you know instead of sales.
Yeah, that is the ideal scenario where the
Hmm.
customer, the member, gets to that conclusion themselves. Like, I needed this. This was
Right.
a game changer for me, and that doesn't it doesn't need. Sometimes it is life changing, or it can be life changing, but sometimes it can just be something that gives you 3 minutes back in your day, and
Right.
that
Right.
can make someone feel like I couldn't live without this thing or this
Yeah.
company that provides it for me.
Yeah. I am right now. The wheels in my brain are turning because I'm trying to remember a sales class I used to give, and one of the core tenets of this class was that people only buy for three reasons, and my brain is trying to pull
Mm.
those three reasons out because they need something, because it solves a problem they have. But no, it's only two reasons. It either solves a problem they have or it makes them feel better.
Mm.
So that's the only reason people buy things. Um, and actually, I think my argument would be that making you feel better, making you feel good, is solving a problem you
Right.
have, right?
Right. Yeah.
So there's only one reason people buy things is it solves a problem.
Yeah.
Now, the problem might be, today I'm feeling stressed and depressed and I need to buy lip gloss because even though it's going to sit in the bottom of my bag, I'm going to wear it one time and it'll sit in the bottom of my bag. Today I needed that thing.
Mhm.
And however much the $3 I spent on it felt worth it to me because I needed to treat myself.
Right.
Um, so to sell that thing, you make it available to people, uh, and you do all of this other stuff, right? You use color, you use, when we're talking about a physical product, you think about size and weight and smell and taste if it's lip gloss, uh, and all of those things. But at the end of the day, I buy it because it solves my problem.
Right.
Um, and I will buy it again if it solved that problem.
And you're human and you're going to have another problem.
Right. Right. Oh, buddy. So many problems, but yeah. So,
So
okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just going to say, theme of the day, benefits and pitfalls to using all
Mhm.
these things that we talked about. Some pitfalls of using personas or customer segmentation or anything like that is, and again, all of this is tied together, right? Going back
Mhm.
to biases and stuff. We might be focusing on the wrong people, or we might be making too many assumptions. And
Mhm.
while we might be focusing on the right air quotes people, we're not truly understanding what their problem is or what they. And I don't mean like, what's their problem? I mean, like in the sense you were talking about, like, what problem are you trying to solve for? So,
Right.
so yeah,
Yeah.
you can go down plenty of rabbit holes or be focused on the wrong people or putting way too many
Mhm.
resources into, a subset or a, group of people that at the end of the day might not provide what the business needs right now, which might be sales, might be knowledge,
Mhm.
could be a number of things.
Yeah. Well, and I don't want to dogpile on the downfalls here, but uh personas, doing putting together buyer personas, especially if you want to be relatively thorough and think about the multiple different personas that you might be able to connect with. Um, it takes time. That's an
Mhm.
investment of your time and energy. And uh, I don't know if you know this, but marketers can be a little bit stubborn. And once you have invested that time and energy, we can become a little bit precious about that. And so in 6 months, maybe you get some good initial success from that. And then in 6 months, something changes. And the world with the news cycle, um, uh, to me, it feels like world changing things are happening at an exponentially faster rate now.
Mhm.
So where maybe you could have created, maybe 10 years ago, you could have created customer personas and your business could have rolled with those general assumptions for a couple of years. Um, Today, you could do that. And in 6 months, something fundamental that you created with your quote unquote ideal customer could have changed in that
Yeah.
person's life,
Yeah.
in that theoretical person's life. And if you become too precious about it, uh, you can start to push forward with a bad strategy
Yeah.
just because you invested time in building who that person was, that imaginary person.
Right. Yeah. Easy way to get stuck, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So I was really fascinated. The last one that you pointed out was neuromarketing.
Mhm.
Um, and once I Googled it, uh, I realized it's definitely, I don't know if I ever heard it referred to as neuromarketing.
Mm.
But man, I love to learn a new word.
Yeah.
Um, and it is definitely something I was tangentially aware of. So I'm interested in talking about
Sure.
it. Neuromarketing is the study of how people's brains respond to advertising and other brand-related messages by scientifically monitoring brainwave activity, eye tracking, and skin response.
Right.
Now, it should be said, your average marketer, uh, including us, we don't have immediately I pictured the thing from Back to the Future that Doc Brown has in the beginning, where it has like light bulbs and it's like a colander. You know what I'm talking
Yeah.
about?
Oh, yeah.
This
I
thing.
have one. I have one sitting right
Oh,
over there. Yeah.
oh, okay. Yeah.
Use
So
it all the time.
Ben has one for his neuromarketing, but um, this isn't something just everybody can grab
Right.
and
Right.
do, but it is fascinating and slightly horrifying to me.
Yeah.
So tell me what you think the benefits are of neuromarketing.
Well, first I'll say the benefits of doing an audio only podcast is that I don't have to prove that I have that thing sitting over there in the corner. But yeah, I mean, ditto echo everything you said. Like, this is something that we definitely don't have the resources to be doing on any kind of regular basis, or anything like specific to us, or the work that we're doing now. There are a whole lot of reports and different kinds of research out there that can inform how you might do some of your work. So like eye tracking is the one that you mentioned. There's people that specialize in website design or UX or mobile device use and things like that, have published things that say stuff should look like this, or you should interact with it like that,
Mhm,
or it should be designed this way because this is where people's eyes make things a priority. So that's probably why we see the menu for most things in the upper right or upper left hand corner,
mhm,
because when people are looking for things, there's some sort of research out there that has been done where they can measure that the person's eye is looking for that stuff in those places. That might also just be because that's how the first person did it, and then everybody else just duplicated
right.
it. But either way, still, however, wherever the origin of it is, doing research like this can prove that this is what people are used to or what they're expecting. So um, brainwave activity and other things like that, same sort of thing. I don't think we're definitely not advocating that people start to do any of this research by themselves unless you get a big old budget, in which case let's talk.
Yeah.
Um, but using what universities or other
Mhm,
research-based organizations are putting out there to help give you guidance on the way that you should be creating stuff, designing stuff, writing things, et cetera, et cetera, um, are all ways that you can reap the
mhm,
benefits of this super intense research that people are doing. And I'm with you, Sue. Like, it's fascinating to me. I don't know how scary it is necessarily. We had an episode a bit ago about AI, so considering how that comes into the mix of this sort of thing is a little, I guess, scary.
mhm,
I hate to use the word scary because I think I'm just more optimistic and think that what we might learn from those kinds of things and how AI gets mixed in should be better for humanity at the end of the day. But we also know there's bad actors and,
mhm.
companies that might be lacking integrity that could create some scary results for people.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, understanding this stuff and having AI come into the mix hopefully just means humans have more time to do more meaningful work, and we're all better because of it. But I also understand why it's a little scary too. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
I one of the things that I saw, and I have the link to the article that I was reading, and I'll share it. One of the things that this particular article mentioned is they found that when people looked at a Mini, like the Mini Cooper car,
Mhm.
that the part of your brain that recognizes faces was activated.
Hmm.
So there is something in the design of a Mini Cooper that people associate with faces, and it's interesting to me because I am a longtime viewer of ghost hunting shows. And a thing that they talk a lot about in ghost hunting shows is something they call matrixing. Matrixing is, at least the ghost hunters tell me this, is the human mind's tendency to create faces out of things,
Mm.
right? So when you're talking about ghost hunting, it is, I see, like, in the background of that dark room, there is a shirt and a hat,
Sure.
and there's some darkness underneath the hat, and now my mind says that's a ghost because I can see a face
Right.
in that
Yeah.
thing. So your mind is putting it together.
Yeah.
Um,
Or the
so
non-ghost example, I see Jesus on my toast, or
right,
Abe Lincoln in the clouds, or whatever. Right.
right, right, right,
Yeah.
right, right, right. Yes. I, do we need non-ghost examples? I only have ghost
Yeah.
examples.
Just, for the non-ghost folks around here.
Okay, okay. Um, so I right away my brain connected those two things. Like that must, to me, that must mean, that people associate the Mini Cooper with a face. Um, and we have positive associations with faces. So we're
Mm,
looking for them all of the time. And so
yeah.
right away, the not as if they aren't making enough money, the Mini Cooper people can, that's something that they can use in their advertising.
Hmm.
Um, which now, if I were doing an ad for a Mini Cooper, how would I use that? Uh, if if it's the front of the car that looks like a face to people and it activates this particular part of their brain in a positive way, then man, oh man, you know how a lot of car commercials you see the side.
Hmm.
Well, you're going to see the front in my commercial
Yeah.
because
Right.
people want to see that little face.
Yeah. Cool.
So, yeah, interesting stuff.
For sure.
Yeah. So, and in terms of pitfalls, I think the thing I want to justify my use of the word scary. Um, and this is speaking as a marketer. One of the things that this article also points out is that it can be, neuromarketing can be manipulative.
Mm,
And I I believe in really hitting that nice middle line. I know to a certain extent the things that we are going to do as marketers are going to be with intention of manipulating. So we know, we talked about them being, marketing is an emotional based sort of science. So there is manipulation there
hmm.
because we are working with people's emotions.
Yeah.
Um, and it is that, it is crossing the line and thinking about what emotions or what things are you going to manipulate, that I think is a scary idea,
Mm,
right?
yeah.
If like, if we spend all of our time manipulating, um and it is all about creating warm emotions, like, to me, like we're doing white magic.
Yeah.
But if that turns into, I'm going to manipulate you, especially when we talk about some of these other technologies like AI and deep fake and some of those things. If I'm going to manipulate you in a way that is fear based
Yeah.
and create panic in you, then that to me is crossing that ethical line, and seems like something that would be really, really easy to do with neuromarketing.
Yeah. And happens, right? I mean,
Right.
we know it happens.
Yeah.
Scaring
Yeah.
people into thinking that something in their world is falling apart. So I have to do this thing now to protect myself. Yeah.
Right. Right. Well, and I think a place that we see it, and I was listening to something recently that is sort of pertinent there, is political advertising.
Right.
And I recently saw and heard an example of a political ad that was all AI deep fake,
Mm,
and was purely fear based.
yeah.
And that, to me, ethically, that crosses a line.
For sure. Yeah.
So, and to say nothing still about the Sarah McLachlan ASPCA commercial, which is
Yeah.
not fear based, but like that is manipulation of the
Right.
highest order.
Yeah. No doubt. I just got done crying again. Yeah.
Every time, man. Every
Yeah.
time.
Well, bummer to end on a pitfall, but it's just the rhythm that we had for the show today. But obviously, all this stuff, is intertwined to plenty of benefits. And I think the
Mhm.
benefits of using this stuff, and especially in an ethical way, far outweighs the potential pitfalls, but healthy part of the discussion to recognize where this
Mhm.
could also lead you astray, or get you dedicating resources to places that it maybe shouldn't. But
Right. Right.
yeah, we could probably have had an episode on each one of these things today. So I'm actually
Easily.
really surprised that we flew through that. But
We do,
yeah,
we do good work and we get things done. We're efficient.
virtual pat on the back. Nicely done.
Yes. Yes. And the good news is even though we ended on a pitfall, we get to move right into something awesome. So,
That's right. Yep. Speaking of something awesome, this is where we share recommendations for cool things that have happened, good stuff, content, etc. to share. And I'm going to share this DIY dog toy project. I help run a youth leadership camp, and that just wrapped up this last weekend. And we always tried to bring a service project aspect into it. We've done everything from like building raised gardens to like removing invasive species at the camp. And this year we did this really cool one that I hadn't seen before, where you take a couple of old t-shirts, you cut them up in a specific way, and then you can tie them together into one of those like rope style dog toys. So we had 80 students at the camp, and we wound up cranking out 172 of these things. And it was so much fun that during our regularly scheduled team time, we did this as a team here at Exclamation yesterday. And we cranked out 4 or 5 of the toys in a half hour or whatever. So, you know, every animal shelter is looking for support, whether it's
mhm.
a donation or supporting their events to help improve their operational budget, or donation of food and toys and stuff like that. So like the ultimate win-win, and that you get to get rid of some of the t-shirts that have been sitting in that bin in your basement for 2 decades now, and you're never going to do anything with, but you also just can't get rid of them. And for those to get out of your basement and then be transformed into something that a little puppy will love, that's a win-win for sure. And yesterday, gosh, what was one of the shirts that we cut up yesterday that kind of felt good or maybe it wasn't yesterday, it was at the camp. It was like a COVID shirt, like we're all in this
Oh,
together or
yeah.
whatever. Yeah, so it was like, yeah, happy to not see this shirt anymore. Yeah. But so the link we'll share out is a video that's super easy, super short, walks you through how to do it. Really, anybody can do it if you've got some old t-shirts, a decent pair of scissors, and then a little bit of patience to tie the same knot again and again. It comes together pretty quick, and they're pretty cute, pretty cool.
Yeah. And having participated, once you know what you're doing, it can get pretty zen.
Yeah, for sure. One of those
And
therapeutic,
yeah,
mindless sort of, yeah.
yes. And my advice to anybody who's going to try it, like really, really pull that knot nice and tight, and then you get a
Yep.
really pristine product.
Yeah.
Took me a little while to get there, but
Yeah.
I feel good. I feel bad now because I didn't pull mine out and give it to my dog last night so that I could endorse it
Mm.
for you, but
Well,
I'm sure she's looking forward to it.
you can get us a follow-up on that. Let us know how it
Yeah.
goes.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Awesome. So my something awesome, which is I can't believe I haven't brought this up. Now, we talked a little bit about your lack of theater kid bona fides recently. But I want to make sure I underline exactly what kind of a theater kid I am, because something I'm very excited about. Have you heard of the show Sweeney Todd, the Demon Barber of Street?
I sure have.
You have? Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, you get an extra theater kid point for that. But
Phew, thank goodness.
one of my favorite shows of all time. One of the first, I think, probably the first Broadway show that I own the whole soundtrack and
Mm.
memorized the whole soundtrack and whatever. So it was on Broadway. I think I looked it up and I can't remember now, but it started in the late 70s or early 80s, and it was on Broadway for a while. It went away. They're doing a revival, and it is one of those things where your favorite intellectual property and then one of your favorite people come together for me, because Josh Groban, who I love, I will
Who
come out of the
doesn't?
I will come out of the closet as a Grobonite right now.
Who doesn't?
I know, but he is playing Sweeney Todd, the lead role, and it is the music for him, like it's this big baritone and
Yeah.
huge soaring songs, and
Yeah.
man, I bet he's so good.
Pretty perfect for him. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure. I mean, it'd be interesting to hear somebody with a higher range try and do it. Like that might be a cool remix on the whole thing, but his voice is, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely perfect for it.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Maybe they can come back with like an Ed Sheeran.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Oh my god. Yeah, he's maybe got the look for it. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's cool. Every
Yeah.
time I think of Sweeney Todd, I think of the Office episode where Andy is in like the local community theater and they do Sweeney Todd. I either think of that or Johnny Depp, because wasn't there like a Johnny Depp Sweeney
Yeah.
Todd?
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. They did a movie with Johnny Depp,
Yeah.
Helena Bonham Carter.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Which was quite, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But
Cool.
he's not Johnny Depp, not the singer that
Yeah.
some of these guys are.
Yeah. Certainly not Josh Groban, right? Was
Yeah.
the Johnny Depp one a Tim Burton movie, or am I just connecting every other Johnny Depp movie to
Just everything he does. It might have been. I don't
Yeah.
know if it was a Tim Burton movie or if it was produced by Tim Burton and one of those like
Yeah.
Tim Burton isn't really making this movie, but he's watching you, Johnny Depp.
Right. Yeah. 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 Well, I will be Googling that as soon as we wrap up. Cool. Awesome.
So that
Good share.
I can't do anything about it, but I'm very excited about it existing in the world.
Yeah.
So So thank you as always for joining us, and we hope that we have given you some food for thought. Lots and lots of links that I will share. You can find those either in the show description on your favorite podcast app, or you can get this and so much more information right on our blog. You can find us at exclamationqso.com/blog. Check it out. We have all of our podcast episodes up there, as well as some other useful information, blogs, and things like that.
You got it. Thanks as always for everything, Sue. Thank you, listener, for tuning in. Be awesome, and we'll see you next time.
The Awesomology Podcast is a production of Exclamation Services. Thanks to Nick Mulliver for sound production and Kylie Ganther for our cover artwork.
Executive producers are me, Ben Bauer, and my friend Suzanne Campbell.